We're rolling. It's a little noisy in here, but that's how it goes. Pottery class. I'd say quiet on the set.
Yeah. Action.
We're rolling.
I'm pretty blacked out.
Okay.
My mask on.
So again, when I'm doing when I'm doing these plaster bats, I'll dampen the plaster just a little bit, and then I'm going to wet the piece of clay so it doesn't come off of here. Hopefully, make sure it's mostly in the middle, and then we'll kind of slap it down. You notice I dried my hands off to do that. So with the wheel going really slowly, I'm going to slap it until it's pretty round. The rounder it is, the easier it is to center. The more in the middle it is, the easier it is to center. Alright, so this is one of the 12 and a half inch hydro bats. Got the sponge so my flat doesn't get wet. It's so wet anyway.
How do you avoid getting like a little
A
notch
dip?
in the middle?
Yeah,
What do you
I'll show
do
you.
for that?
So I'm going to push this down. When I push it down, I'm pushing forward with my, pushing kind of forward and down a little bit with my left. I'm going to pull back with my right until my hands kind of run together at the bottom. And then I'll switch around. I'll push down. I'm trying to push down kind of in a diagonal here so I don't get the mushroom kind of thing over. And you'll notice that I'm leaving a point in the top here. So I'm back down to approximately the same shape, but a little bit more centered with that point in the top. If you don't have a point in the top, it's going to come up and fold like that. If you have a point, it'll go up like this. If you have it flat, it'll go like this.
That's easy enough.
I never knew. Who knew?
So I'm going to bring up another cone.
This is 5 pounds.
It's 5 pounds. I'm going to do 10 pounds, 5 pounds at a time. I'll show you how I do it. I'll bring it up a little taller here. I'm actually using, I'll show you the part of the hand that I'm using to get this cone up like that. You can see I'm using this part of my, kind of my pinky knuckle, and I'm kind of pushing the clay up like that. And I'm pulling back with this part of my hand, kind of like this part of my palm there. Okay, now when I push it down, I push it forward like that, and I'm pushing down with my thumb, and I'm pulling back in the middle so it doesn't do the hula hoop. Nice and slow, steady. If it's a smaller piece of clay, you can go fast, but you want to go nice and slow with the, starting with a little bit larger pieces of clay. Okay, my hands kind of round together. So I'm going to switch around, and again, this is kind of diagonal at the moment, so it goes down without mushrooming over, and then I'll rotate it around so now it's kind of flat. All right, so this is going to be a wide bottom bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually flatten this a bit. I'm going to push down here. I'm going to push diagonally this way. So I'm not perpendicular to the wheel, I'll be slightly diagonal. What that'll do, I'm right above the wheel head. That'll kind of allow that clay to move across the wheel. You want to make sure that you're really good and centered before you try to do this, because if you start moving it out and it's not centered, once you get it wide, it's going to be really tough to center, because you'll center the outside and the top will go like this, and then you'll try to center the top and then the outside will go like this. So you're just sort of chasing it. So make sure you're really good and centered before you drop it down into a flat puck. So I'm not going to go as wide as I would for a plate. Okay, not as wide or flat. So plate 7 to 1 approximately. This is going to be, I don't know, probably 6 to 1. Slight concavity here. It's slightly higher in the middle than it is on the outside. I don't want to have like any dips or any channels or anything. I want it to be nice and smooth. And I'm going to scrape the slip off. It looks like I used a piece of clay with some sand in it. Mixed 3 pieces together. One of them I think had a little sand in it. That's all right. So smooth it out, smooth out the top. Okay, and clean the hands off. wheel. I'm gonna get my piece of clay. Now, make sure it's nice and round. Okay, I spend a little bit more time doing this so that I have to spend less time centering it later. So make sure it's really round on here, really round on here, so you kind of meet these two kind of round surfaces together. You don't want to try to put it in like a dip because you might trap some air. This whole thing is about trying to avoid trapping air in here. And I'm going to set it as in the middle as I can. Okay, make sure you can see I'm spinning it. It's actually pretty good and centered. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap down like this with the wheel going really slowly, and I'm just going to try to fix it to the piece. Okay, and then I'm going to tap it down until it's attached. But I'm not going to go so low that I disturb the center of this bottom part. Okay, that's why this piece needs to be really, really round. If you center this and then you put like a square piece on here or something that you haven't spent any time trying to round out, as you tap that down, it's going to push parts out, and then you just have to center the whole thing. So what's the point? So make sure you try to keep both parts separate. Okay, and you want to start out with this one being round. I'm going to seal it down, and now I'm just going to center this top part. So I'm going to try not to disturb that bottom part. I'm just kind of ignoring it. It ends up looking kind of like one of those characters or one of the little board game pieces.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it really
Yeah,
does.
sorry,
Look
yeah.
at that. It's perfect.
All right. Bring up your cone and push it down.
How important is the height when you cone up and down? I know it looks cool, but besides it looking cool,
I
does it
don't know.
matter
I don't know if
at all?
it's like a superstition for me, but
But it,
I find that if I can get a really nice,
High.
consistent high cone and push it down without it wiggling too much, then I can get a nice tall cylinder without it wiggling too much.
but you don't know if it's actually more than just.
More than just bringing it up and pushing it down, I don't know if the height really matters. But the more you do it, the better.
Like I said,
The better wheel wedged it ends up being, and less
Okay.
cracking you'll get.
it looks cool.
You got a little air bubble here. It's fine. Get rid of it. All right, so just pretend that this doesn't exist. Just pretend that that's a bat that we're throwing it on. Okay, maybe I'll bring it up again. Just a little bit more.
You're throwing a 10-pound ball and not teaching it. Would you have started with 10 pounds?
I just started with 10 pounds, yeah.
Just looks as hard
So
as
this
it would
is,
be.
if you're not comfortable centering 10 pounds, but you're comfortable centering 3 pounds, you could do, 3.5 pounds 3 times.
Yeah, this looks actually harder.
You know, or whatever.
No, it really does.
Well, you just have to keep it like
I mean,
round, and I don't know, there's some things to think about, but now I've centered 5 pounds twice, and now I'm going to move the 5 pounds into the upper 5 pounds into the lower 5 pounds, and it'll become 10 pounds.
yeah, just does.
All right, so I'm going to push down here and kind of do the diagonally pushing here so that it kind of moves out and doesn't fold over. It's one of the things I noticed some beginning students doing when they were centering, like when they were first learning how to center. Instead of pushing perpendicular to the wheel, they were pushing diagonal, and the clay kept on wanting to swoosh out the bottom of their hand. I was like, I'm gonna use that for making plates and wide bowls and stuff. All right, so I don't know how wide of a bottom bowl you want, Blair. How wide of a foot? About that wide or wider
Yeah,
than
I
that?
think about like that.
So I'm going to center to approximately the width that my foot's going to be. I center a little bit differently. You might notice I'm pressing down with my thumb and I'm pressing forward with the this part of my hand. If you do that, you want to make sure that you don't let your wrist bend too much. I don't know if just having done it for so long, my wrist is flexible enough that I can take it. All right, so I got it good and centered. Now I'm going to drop the hole for a little bit larger piece. Instead of using my right hand and pushing down on my left, or sorry, pushing down with my left, I actually push down with my left hand and push on it with my right, and I bring my elbow kind of up in the air. So this is pushing kind of almost diagonally down that way. So it kind of opens the clay up.
Oh, so your right hand's diagonal is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, this is pushing down this way, but this is also almost like pulling back a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's test the thickness. I could go down to maybe another 1/8 of an inch or so, but we're gonna.
So you do leave a good size.
So yeah, because I want a good size a foot on there. It's a big bowl, and I don't want to make a tiny little foot on there. So it'll be rounded. So I'm gonna where it meets the wheel, it'll be a 1/4 inch from the wheel, and there'll be a 1/4 inch for thickness in the piece. It'll kind of ramp up just a little bit, so it'll be a little bit deeper where the foot actually gets trimmed. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of get back from the wheel here, get my elbows in, I'm gonna use both hands to pull this back. I'm gonna lift my hands ever so slightly. So as I get a little bit further out, it gets a little bit easier, so I have to maybe ease up on my pressure here. So it's a little higher here than it is in here, and I will test it one more time in here. Sometimes as you pull it back, it'll get a little bit thicker because the clay kind of wants to sneak out underneath your finger. Yeah, the problem is if we get a mirror here, then this is the only wheel people can demo at.
That's okay. I don't care.
Okay.
They can demo it any way they want, they just won't use the mirror.
Right.
Yeah.
It just will be
So,
the
like-
same as it is now.
So,
It's no different than it is now.
so 5 out of 6 of the instructors just won't have a mirror.
Are you the only one who?
I'm the only one that uses it, except less uses it, sure, but
But if the mirror's there, would that change this?
I don't know. I think a lot of people don't like using a kick wheel.
But it doesn't matter, so there's back, but it's no different than what they're
It's no
doing.
different than what they're doing now.
Anyway.
So I'm compressing the floor right now. I did drop it down again just a little bit because it got a little bit thicker in the middle when I started opening it.
Do any students use the kick wheel?
No. I don't know. I really like using the kick wheel, but I could maybe replace. I kind of almost want to replace it with a stand-up wheel. The problem with the stand-up wheel is, if I set it for my height,
No one else is.
nobody else is going to be able to use it.
I can. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Emily and I can use it.
We can have a footstool.
Kurt, Claire, Emily.
Actually,
Not
yeah,
me and
there
you,
could be
huh?
like
Not
a little
If you
platform.
can't
Yeah. All right, make sure we're still a good thickness here. So we're about 1/2 inch there. We're probably about 3/4, right where my foot's gonna be trimmed.
Oh.
So that's maybe a little bit. That's gonna be a big, tall foot. I don't even know if I need that much clay. Maybe we'll go a little bit thinner here. Famous last words.
Yeah.
I take it off and I don't have enough clay to trim the foot.
Yeah.
The good thing is, when I do this, when I use a plaster bat, it's just gonna pop off.
Yeah, so you don't have to do the wire.
Yeah,
Watch
I'm
that
not gonna leave any clay
thing.
in the bat with a wire. Yeah. So I might even come back out here and flatten it just a little bit more. All right. I like using a sponge to compress because I feel like it gets in there a little bit further. Oops, just stuck my pinky in there. All right, so now I'm gonna try to do a volcano, and hopefully I don't disturb, hopefully I don't lift it off of the bat. That's one thing about these plaster bats is sometimes you can release them from the plaster bat if you're, oops, It's actually getting to be a little crack on the
I was
inside.
gonna
Okay.
say, yeah.
So maybe I won't do quite as much of a volcano with this
Do
one.
you do volcano with a bowl?
I
thought you
usually do.
don't-
I do. I don't do as exaggerated a
With a
volcano.
cylinder on it. Okay.
I was trying to squeeze in. Maybe I need to lift it a little bit more. Sometimes when you lift it, it just releases from the bat. All right. All right, because I want it to kind of go up and in. If I don't do the volcano, it just kind of wants to go out because this first pull is actually still going to be up and in. So when I start this pull, I kind of swoop across the bottom, and then I'll start at the wall, and I'll bring it up and in. I'm going to leave a bit of clay in the rim. So this is going to start here. My elbow is next to my body. This is going to go up like that. Swoop across. We'll grab on.
Oh, no, I can see. Thank you.
And bring that clay up. So I'm pushing pretty hard with my outside hand.
And which hand is higher?
The inside hand is higher.
Inside hand is higher.
Yep, always. Okay, nice thick rim on there because once I bring it out, it's gonna stretch out and get thinner. I might actually have to move my bucket here in a minute. Okay, when I make the groove, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push under, down and under with this hand, using my pinky. So my pinky's on the clay, my index finger is there too, to keep it from making that shelf. So it kind of goes under, and this will keep it as a bump instead of a shelf. And then this, my ring finger kind of helps rotate the sponge under. This hand kind of almost goes a little bit up and out with the clay. So I want to keep this exterior diameter. Okay, so that goes down and under. This goes up and out. I'll check to make sure I still have a good curve in here. Looks okay. Roll that water out. Put it back on the wall.
Sorry,
All right.
just to go, so which diameter changed when you did that?
Right there.
The
This
outer-
maybe went in a little bit, and this kind of came out a little bit.
So the foot more or less stayed where it was. It's more that you bumped it out above.
Well, here maybe went in a little bit,
Okay, but not significantly.
not significantly.
Okay.
Make sure my clay is wet. So this one, as I pull it, this thumb is going to go up, and this is going to turn into kind of a horn shape. Not like a horn, but like a horn. Okay. That was a bit of confusion.
I didn't get that on film, sorry.
Really good in
Okay, let's
charades.
do it.
I'm on
So
his
not a
team.
horn, a horn.
Definitely on his team, yes.
Is that like the alligator?
All right, so I'm going to swoop across. I'm going to grab on. This hand right here, this point is going to be making the pull, but this part of my hand, maybe even my thumb, is going to be pulling the clay out. This hand is also going to be kind of guiding the clay out like that. So I swoop across and grab on. So I'm pretty aggressive here, grabbing onto a lot of clay. You can see my upper part of my hand is bringing that rim out. My thumb on my right hand is
Stopping it from going too much out, right?
it's stopping it from going too much up, but it's also rotating up. That changes this
I
angle
saw that. It's cool.
and guides the clay out. If you want the clay to go up and in, you drop your thumb down, and this angle makes the clay go up and in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. For him.
Piece of cake.
It's okay.
Piece of clay.
Okay, up and out, down and under. Get my clay, make sure my clay is wet. We'll do it one more time.
Oh, I can see. Thank you.
Perfection.
What kind of bowl is this going to be?
Big.
No, I know it's big, but
I don't know.
for
Big fruit bowl or salad bowl or something like that for
Okay.
a big party.
Big ice cream bowl.
And then
when you go to
I like it.
Thanksgiving dinner and show up with your side in this and you impress your friends and family.
I always do that.
Yeah.
Just has a shitty bowl.
All right, so I'm just gonna use that. The great thing about the plaster is it just kind of pops right off.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, how neat.
Get that not to glom on the bottom.
So first, I cut it away
Yeah.
like this, so it was pushed away a little bit, and then I go underneath it. If you have this
Yeah.
pointed towards the direction the clay is going, it'll stick back on. If I have it at a right angle or slightly going into the tool, make sure you hold onto it really tight. It'll go away from the piece. All right,
Something that simple, yeah.
details.
Details.
Little things that you'll
So I have my ribs, one on either side
So I
here.
will watch the video.
Yeah.
I gotta watch the video a lot of times.
So maybe we don't need a mirror, but we need one of
It
those
makes sense, right,
bots that goes up to 360.
yeah.
Yeah, just get a
Oh, we're
A
gonna have
drone,
we're
yeah.
gonna have this. You know those Max. You know
How about
those
a-
movies that show
A GoPro.
Safari.
Right, or somebody has to stand there with one on their head.
Nolan.
Nolan live at the Sphere, Las Vegas
Yeah.
Sphere.
Yeah. I'd go to that. Can't think
We'll
of
put them in
anything.
a geodesic dome with 400 cameras.
My favorite potter, video potter, Matthew Kelly, put a drone inside of a big moon jar as he was making it.
Oh my god.
Oh my
We're
God.
like, how the hell did you
That's
do that?
crazy.
That's awesome.
Oh,
That
drone.
is.
Mini drone, evidently.
That's pretty cool.
But he got it in there.
That's crazy.
No one's gonna do that next. Someone's gotta have an
Well,
eight-year-old with a
they
drone.
make small enough cameras, we could do like a buckyball geodesic dome with little lenses and all.
All right,
You
so
always on your bowls. You always leave the rims a little bit.
thicker.
Yeah.
Mhm, Yep.
Okay.
So at this point,
My
Nolan,
mistake.
it's about 10 inches tall, you'd say, or
No, I'd go eight.
Eight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks huge to me.
and the diameter is about.
Just
Well,
to satisfy your needs.
Diameter's probably 12 or 13, but
So, wait, is that only, what am I, oh, I'm looking. This will be.
I do it
It's
too.
shrinking. It's
A little
3.
okay, a little over 6, so
Yeah,
almost
no,
7.
7. About
Seven.
7.
And what's
a little over
the
12 probably.
diameter is?
12.
Just a
13,
smidgen.
maybe 13.
You know, it's
All
amazing.
right, so the
Yeah.
position of my ribs, they're going to be right across from each other like this. So they're at a right angle to each other,
Yeah, but
but
it's
they're
all
kind of
left
leaving,
over.
the clay is kind of
Thank you.
leaving them, and I make sure that I
can
flex
see.
this rib just a little
On the
bit,
bounce.
like
Oh,
that.
so
And this
you-
is just a regular rib that I cut.
and the one inside you want it to be more steady.
Yeah, you want it to be a wooden rib or one of the blue
Or
mud
something
tools.
that doesn't have as
something-
much give.
No flex.
But you've
But
got.
the outside has flex. Okay.
The outside, well, it has flex that I can flex it, but once I flex this metal rib, it doesn't have any flex. It's actually quite
Okay.
rigid.
Okay. So you do.
But I can change the great thing about this is I can make it rigid, but I can also change the shape of it, and it's pretty rigid when
So you don't
when I
use
change the
rubber ribs on.
I will use this, but I don't use a red one.
That's rigid.
If
That's
you're
what-
using
Yeah, you use rigid ones. Yeah.
if you're using a red one
It's
on a
just-
bowl, you're
it's-
not gonna get
ain't much.
the freshman dip out of it.
It's not like the freshman 40.
All right, so maybe I'll compress this just a little bit. So the way that I'm holding it is kind of between these two fingers here, and then these two fingers. Sometimes I'll go like that. Sometimes I'll hold it between my thumb and my middle finger. Sometimes I'll come around with my thumb like that.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
So do I. Yeah.
All right, so I want to bring the width of this rim out. So I could do it with a rib if I wanted to, but I want to keep the integrity of that rim there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to wet this interior here, and I'm going to kind of pull it like that.
Really. That's.
So the reason why I'm pulling it in two spots is because if I just push on one spot, it just goes whoop like that, and then I let the pressure off, it goes back. So if I pull in two spots, it instead of making it oblong, it'll
Does it
actually
matter
stretch
which
out.
two spots?
Kind
Where?
of about a third. You know, if you
Okay.
divide it into thirds, I'm about
Okay.
about thirds there.
Okay.
All right, so we probably have to get rid of this guy. It served its job. You can see
What
that
do you
could have
need?
all been in my lap if I didn't have that there.
Or on Kim's shoes.
Yeah. So when I shape a bowl, I
Outside
shape
hand.
from the bottom or from the top down. I'm gonna plant my elbow here. I let these fingers kind of drag on the clay here, and then I'm gonna use a big bowl rib, hold on to the end like this, and I pivot kind of around my thumb. This whole thing is sort of together as a single sort of unified piece. It's kind of a lever, and I move that shape down into the bowl.
And to be clear, you're pushing that harder than we think.
Am I pushing hard? I'm pushing pretty hard, but mostly I'm just trying to keep it really rigid as I go through.
But hard,
'Cause it
so
bounces
harder than
around
we think.
sometimes.
Because
Uh-huh.
one time he grabbed my hand and did it with me, and I was like, I didn't realize.
Huh.
Trying to
Yeah,
figure
we're
out how
using
wide
that
I
much
want this rim
authority.
here.
Yeah, but
Do I
you're
want it
not
to go
moving
down
your
like
wrist.
this, or do I want it to go out? Yeah, I want it to go down like this, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
have
spill
it
all
go
over
down,
the floor when
yeah,
you try to
I don't
carry
like
it.
the
You're not moving your wrist though, you're using it as a singular.
Yeah, so this is a single unit. It's
Right.
it's
It's
like
a
it's
Lego.
almost like I
This-
have a
this isn't
cast
going
on.
anywhere.
Yeah, it's almost like I have a cast on.
Right.
I'm pivoting around this thumb knuckle here.
Right, so the wrist isn't moving. Once it's in position, the whole thing moves as a lever.
Like
Okay, so
tennis.
I drop my elbow down,
There
and
you
that
go.
whole rim will go out, and then I'll move it. I want to make sure that this point is pointed towards the center. I'll rotate it up, like that.
No, I like
Oh,
to
so you
stab
don't
the
go all the way
center.
down into
I-
the center?
Not right now.
Oh, okay.
I always stab the center, then I'm like,
That's
oh,
what I
guess-
did.
yeah.
I guess I
Right.
made out.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
if you don't,
Avoid doing that, yeah.
so you can if you keep this pointed over here, you're gonna run into the
Yeah,
wall.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you keep it too low, you're gonna run into that. So if you
Yeah.
rotate it up,
Yeah.
you can use the different angles that are happening.
Wow.
But also, when you start moving your wrist, then you don't have as much control over it. If you use this as a singular lever.
Okay, how big
kind of
how
know
big of
where
a
it
bowl do we
is.
need to make here?
Oh, I love it. Okay,
It
good.
is
It's a pretty shape.
It's gorgeous. If I could,
Blair bigger or that
I,
easy there?
sky's the limit, Nolan, whatever you wanna do.
I think that's a good shape though.
I think
Yeah,
it's
it is.
gorgeous.
It
It's like
is,
the
and
most
it's-
perfect bowl.
It
It'd be good for making
beautiful
bread.
on the
When do you
outside.
mish him on that? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Because I'm really good at making.
No, I remember last
All right,
time.
so
I think that's.
I want to make sure that this has a really good transition through the middle here. So what I'm going to do is I need to go one pass back through. So to open it up, I hold onto this bit here and drop my elbow down. Okay. Now to go through the middle, I'm going to change it because I want to use a different part of the shape here. And I kind of plant this elbow here and I put this on top of here, and then I keep this almost at a right angle, but maybe a slight low angle here. And I'll start at the top, and I'm watching actually right there. It's very light pressure, and then once I get here, I have to push pretty hard. And once I get here, I have to ease up on my pressure just a little bit so I don't dig all the clay out. Go right through the middle.
Perfect.
So to me, a finding is you're not cutting from here. Like I go all the way to this point
Yeah.
as opposed to here. Do you
Well,
see? But you need to, you don't want
have
to get
you
it
have to
stuck.
you have to keep your wrist kind of mobile and
Yeah.
figure out what part of the curve you need.
Yeah.
So this is a really tight curve, so I need that
Yeah.
part of the curve right here. And as I
Okay.
get towards the
Okay.
bottom, I need to use the flatter part of the curve.
But I see that you took off a lot of clay.
Yeah, you do.
I'm so glad this
And
is
if I
on
need
film.
to, I'll come back and just lightly kind of go back with a low angle.
That's
Okay.
what I'd be always
So the
nagging
whole
everything
bowl
to.
is the same thickness of this, or just?
It should be thinner.
Thinner.
It should be thinner.
And will you trim this?
I'll
other than
trim
the
it.
little foot?
No, that's really just magnificent.
Yeah, I'll trim it.
I'm curious.
And remember, it's
Can you cut it in half so we can cross it?
yeah.
There you go, yeah.
Don't just
No,
drill a hole.
Last one I already have it in half, yeah.
Don't. Don't. Just tell me I'm
He
gonna
will.
leave the room.
He will.
It's gonna be like,
Sometimes.
Sometimes I do that.
Sometimes he does.
I don't think
Where did my
today's
shaving
gonna
go?
be the day.
Oops.
Don't
It's too
tempt him.
No, it's a
perfect. So, yeah.
lovely shape.
It's a beautiful.
Perfect.
It's
so
like it,
creepy.
like it ever.
Oh, that'll fill a whole box of Captain Crunch.
Costco box.
Costco size.
Yeah.
There you go.
What other size is there
Are you right?
in my family?
Right?
All right, so I do trim the outside. I'll trim the whole outside. I'm not ashamed of doing that. But so here's the thing: is what's inside that counts with the bowl. Make sure your curve is good in here. I don't want to have to flip this. I don't want to have to trim the inside of this thing. Make sure your curve is good, so your spoon or whatever tool you have goes all the way down to the bottom without any obstructions. And on the outside, you can have weird lumps and stuff. You just trim them off later. I know that some people try to really focus on getting it, the same inside and out, but
It's gorgeous.
it's just a lot of times you'll end up pushing a bump onto the inside and then pushing it back out the outside, and you're like, oh, the bump's back on the outside, and you push the bump back on the inside, and it just, what's the point? Like, just trim it off.
Yeah, that looks
So
perfect.
that's pretty much it.
It's
And cut.
beautiful.
I love the
Oh,
angle
God.
of the rim.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I love that whole,
Very
it's
attractive.
beautiful. It's perfect. So wait, is this his color?
This is
Are you
his.
gonna put it, you're gonna put it on?
I'll put it on YouTube.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Nolan.
Thank you.